Okay, so today I thought we'd talk about bandit boards. Now, bandit boards are, well, you either love them or you hate them, but they're a key tool for what you need to do with Lease Options. You can do it yourself, you can get other people to do it for you, you can install them in your local area, you can get them installed and put up in a remote area if that's where you're investing in property. You can use them for finding properties, for identifying sellers. You can use them for finding tenant buyers and actually sort of getting rid of or actually selling the properties that you have. But the bottom line is they're a key part of day-to-day lease option activity. So what do you want to use them for? Well, first things first, I'll try and find a video and I'll post that with this email. It just shows me a couple of years ago just putting up a sign, and I really should have put it to a bit of Benny Hill music, because it's flipping comedic with me sort of putting this thing up and then dropping it and it falling down and all sorts. So there are some tools that you can use. If you're going to do this yourself, you probably want to get the bandit boards as high up as possible so it stops people taking them down, be that local sort of residents, be it council operatives. So I will talk about some of the actual physical tools you're going to use, but let's talk about the boards themselves. Bright yellow Corex board. I use a company called MDS supplies for the boards that I have used throughout the years. Pretty good, come in all different sorts of shapes and sizes and shapes. You can then use it for whatever size you want. When you're erecting the Corex board, what you find is the Corex board actually has a, not like a grain, but like it's like corrugated cardboard, but it's plastic. So one way it will bend and break fairly easily, the other way it's a lot more rigid. So you need to be aware of that kind of grain in the plastic when you're writing your sign, or when you're getting the printing company to write your signs, so that when you've got it up on a telegraph pole or lamp post or whatever, when the wind blows, it doesn't just kind of wrap itself around the actual lamp post. So that's kind of tip number one. When you are putting the sign together, you don't want every single last piece of detail on that board. You want something catchy that's going to grab people's attention. You want to have it in black writing. Now what you can do is you can use like a Sharpie pen. Now what you will find, if that's going to be something that's going to be out for a while, it will, especially in sort of sunshine, especially like today, it will kind of deteriorate and fade. What you can do is paint it, but then of course that needs time for you to dry. It's a bit more messy, but hey, if you've got the right text and you've got kids or teenagers or primary school kids, they will love to write it for you. And here's another little hint: it doesn't matter how neat it looks. Don't worry about trying to get it looking neat. You want it to look kind of ugly. You want it to look rough and ready. You don't want it looking professional. And although some people say, oh, it's got to look professional, otherwise why would somebody want to sell the house, or why would somebody want to buy a property from you? No, you're just solving a problem. You're solving the problem of either somebody wants to sell the house and you're giving them an alternative solution, or you're kind of talking to somebody who wants to buy a property and doesn't have the traditional ways of doing it via mortgage and deposit. So the stuff that you actually put on the board just needs to be short and catchy. Buy my house, no mortgage required, seller financed. You've got to be slightly careful with some of the language, but the bottom line is you just want something that's going to catch the attention. We buy houses, top market price paid for. All you're trying to do is grab the attention of either the seller or the buyer, regardless of what else is out there in the marketplace. The thing with bandit boards, the reason it's sort of bright yellow board with black writing, it stands out. There's a lot of kind of street furniture these days, down to even an estate agent's board, probably up for sale, to a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, to don't cross here, so whatever it is. If you've got something that is handwritten in black on yellow that stands out really well, it will stand out from the rest of the normal sort of street furniture. So that's actual sort of sign. You can play around with the wording. Now, where do you put it? When do you put it? How long do you keep it out there? What are all the ifs, buts, why, fors? What's the downside of having a sign out there? You know, a lot of people can say, well, hang on, my council won't allow me to do that. You know, I'm going to get fined, etc. If that's something you're worried about, there's two things really. Find out what the fine could be and work out whether you're happy with that as a cost of doing business. If that's not the case and you're not comfortable with that, then maybe have a telephone number that's instead of being your normal sort of personal telephone number, have a number that's kind of a throwaway type pay-as-you-go phone, so that if you were to get contacted on it by somebody from the council, I'm not suggesting this is the right way of doing things, I'm just saying this is how I know other people have done this process throughout the years. Have a mobile phone that in effect isn't traceable back to you, prepaid mobile phone. But the bottom line is, it's potentially a cost of doing business if you get a fine. Let's say you get a £30, £50, £80 fine, and let's say that you get 5 of those. Crikey, 5 80s, 400 quid. If you make 10 grand on a property transaction, is that 80 quid a worthwhile expense for you doing it? And you've helped somebody sell the house, and you've helped somebody buy a house. You're providing a good service there, and also you put money in the local council's pockets. You could argue that's win-win-win-win-win. But at the same time, you may just not feel comfortable with that at all, and if that's the case, Bandit boards aren't right for you. You can get Bandit boards completely sort of signed, written up for you, and you could also have other people sort of putting that sign out for you. It's completely up to you. I found personally that the do-it-yourself version is relatively easy. Of course it takes time. Now one of the guys I know, what he does is he goes out on a Friday night, puts the signs up all around his local area, and then on a Monday morning goes out and takes them back down again. And the logic there is that the council operatives aren't around, there's nobody to have an issue with it allegedly over the weekend. It's captured people's attention as potential sort of buyers and sellers over the weekend, and then you get to not have the hassle and grief from having the signs out there. So that's another way of doing it. When you're physically putting the signs up, so if you're going to do this yourself, and if I can find that video, I'll post it with this as well so you can see. I have a hammer, just like a normal claw hammer, and it's attached to a long bit of plastic pipe, sort of stuff you can pick up from B&Q or Wix or whatever, a bit of gaffer tape around it, so it's almost like a claw hammer with a really long handle. And then what I do is I've got some little tacks, and those tacks you can push into the yellow Corex board, and then I have another bit of pipe, which in effect, imagine that's kind of your pipe. What I've done is I've kind of cut down the middle of it, so in effect it opens up like that. It doesn't physically open up, but you've got a slit in it. You can then put the board into the slit, and you've then got something that holds the board up in one hand. You hammer with the extended handle on the other hand. The tack's already in the Corex board. You hold the board up to the wooden telegraph pole. You then use your extended handled hammer to bash the tack into the wooden telegraph pole, and it's high up. And why do you have it high up? There's a reason clearly for having it high up. What you're going to find is if you've got somebody who's got an issue with that being there and wants to take it down, they're just going to get out of their vehicle, they're going to walk past it, and they're going to pull it down. But if your sign is sort of 12 foot up in the air, the height of you, sort of 3, 4, 5 foot of extended handle hammer, then they're not going to be able to do that. So if it is somebody like a council operative, they're going to need to get out of their van, realise they can't reach it, then they're going to go and get a ladder and then go and sort of take it down. But that may take a couple of days to do that. So it makes sense to put up as high as possible. Other ways of putting up are on metal sort of street lamps and stuff like that. Yeah, tie wraps. Just cut a couple of holes in the coax board, put a tie wrap around it, maybe a couple of tie wraps, and wrap it around. Now you may need your own pair of ladders to actually then put it up yourself. But the bottom line is this: if you have a bunch of Bandit boards out there, you will get response from them. I still now drive around and I see yellow Bandit boards that I put up 5 years ago in the early days that weren't done with paint, and they were done with like a felt tip pen almost, that are literally completely faded, just a yellow board, but they're still up there. So it kind of makes me laugh. But it's as I say, I keep on saying, it's a key part of kind of what you want in your arsenal. It's a key part of your marketing. It's a key part of how you're going to find buyers, how you're going to find sellers, and you kind of want to have them out there. So take the plunge, go and buy yourself some coax board, go and buy yourself some black paint and a paintbrush, and put some stuff together. You want to have a call to action on it. You want to have a contact details, and that could just be a very simple, have a telephone number on there. If you're feeling quite brave, you might have an email address, you might even have a website address on there. I'm not recommending that that's what you do, but what you want is to have somewhere those people getting hold of you, because you put them out there for a reason. What I have done in the past is, let's say for example we've got a property that we're looking for a tenant buyer for, and we've got control of the property, we've got a video of that property, so we've got a video up on YouTube of the actual property itself. You can always create like a QR code, you know, like a QR code where you use like a scanning device on your mobile phone, and then that links to a website. Well, you could link that QR code to a video of the property. So as somebody's out there, they see the tenant buyer Bandit board, they then click on their phone, they go to the video of the property. That's then got contact details for you. They've seen the property, they just want to know if they can actually have a look inside the property, and what they need to do to buy it and take hold of the opportunity. Because remember, all you are doing is selling opportunity. And with the Bandit board, you're just doing something that stands out from the norm and allows people to think, right, is this something for me? Is this a way that I'm going to sell my house? Is this a way that I'm actually going to buy my new home? And that's what Bandit boards do. Now look, there's loads of other resources out there. You know, just go and Google Bandit boards. It's something that's very prevalent over in the US. It's something that a bunch of people have done over here in the UK, but I personally haven't seen as much of it recently as I did, say, sort of 2-3 years ago. There are, you know, there are books on this. There's a guy called Mark Irons, and I think his books, I can't remember what it's called now. Dominate Your Ground or Dominate Your Territory. Again, he'll go into this a lot more detail, and he sort of explains to you, how far apart you should have Bandit boards, and how you should have Bandit boards that kind of all roll up to each other, and the message goes down the street as you're driving down. There's loads of information out there, but I would say this: just go and buy some board, chuck something on it, plonk them out there, and see what happens. You can't go wrong. And what's the worst that can happen? You could have somebody call you up and say, "Oh, I don't like the board up there, can you take it down?" Well, then it's your choice. You go and take it down, you leave it up there. Now, I would always suggest that you don't annoy the neighbours. I would suggest you go and take it down and site it somewhere else. If it's the council, well then you may need to pay a fine. You may never have any other issue than, look, can you take it down please? But it's a way of making you money, and it's a relatively cheap way of doing it. It's a relatively easy way of doing it. Yes, it takes some effort. Yes, it takes some organisation. Yes, it takes some buying of raw materials and putting it together. Yes, it's ugly. Yes, it stands out, and yes, you'll get noticed. Buy houses, sell houses, use Bandit boards. Great idea. Go and play with it. And tell me all about it. Tell me what your response has been. Tell me what your your reaction to those boards has been. And look, if there's something that I haven't actually covered on this sort of video today, and there's information that you want about it, or you want some more detail on particular things, or you've come across problems that maybe I haven't discussed and talked about, drop me a message. Put it at the bottom of this video, give me a call, whatever, and I'll help you through it. Okay, take care. Speak to you on the next video. Take care.